Now, we spent a lot of time working with this crank slider mechanism and different variations. But there's lots of other ways you could take this. Let's look at a creative, alternate approach to this. Let's start by opening a new metric assembly, just a blank assembly. Then go to your parts library, and under class files, you'll see a folder Creative Variations CS1. So I'll double click on that. Let's start bringing in these parts. I'd like to start with the ground block. So I'll drag in the ground block, and then I'll go back and pull in the crank, and I'll attach the crank to this piece here, and let's mate this face to this face. Back to our parts library, drag in the rocker, and we'll attach this cylinder to this cylinder, and I'll fit the view. Let's grab this back face and mate it with this face. Then I'll go back to my parts library and drag in the slide block. Now I'll align the cylinder with this cylinder. And let's align this front face with the block of this face. And let's save our assembly as variation 1. And so basically what we have here is the crank and the slider. But let's take this in a different direction. And I'm going to start by modifying this slide block. I'll double click on that. And what I'd like to do is just zoom in here. And I would like to go back here to this protrusion 1. And I'm going to detach that for a moment. Just hit detach. And I'm going to grab this face here, and I'm going to pull this face out so it encompasses this whole thing, say 120. So push that out right past there. And then I'm going to go to the thin wall button, go to thin wall, and I'm going to pick this front face here, and I'll just leave it on 2 millimeters, the default, and right mouse click to accept. And before I forget, I'd like to go back to this protrusion 1, right mouse click, and just attach that again. And you'll see it's attached in there. We could modify this later. That's okay for the moment. And so I'll close and return. And I'd like to go back up here to our ground block and get it to fit in there properly. So I'll open up the ground block, identify the top face, grab the arrow, and I can always move this form if it's in the way. Design intent, grab this block, and I'd like to pull that in too, so it fits inside there. Close and return. And now I'll add a motor to this crank. Identify the crank, spin it around the cylinder, and hit finish. Let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. Okay. Now I need that to sit inside the block. So let's return, save, and I would like to mate the bottom face of the blue face, and I'm going to hesitate because not that one, right mouse click, and I want the plane on the bottom of the box with the bottom face here. And I'll fit that again and try it again. Hit run.